Okay, well, I don't have a co-host to look over and go, "Are we live?" That's interesting. All right. Well, folks, thank you. Hey, it's nice outside in most locations. It's April, almost May. That is wild, right? Kentucky Derby's on the way, so I might be doing some stuff this weekend. Who knows? But thank you for coming, everybody. If you don't know me already, my name is Mike Asherbrenner, professionally known as the Redneck Connector and the proud and humble leader of the Hounds of Business community. So thank you for taking your time. If you're not a hound already, hey, what are you waiting for? Don't take my word for it. I'm partial, right? But seriously, network with some of the folks. Don't pitch slap with a P, but hey, ask questions, chime in. We got a special guest today, folks. I am super, super excited about this. We got the man now. He just told me how to say this, right? And I just told him I'm a broken speaking spell. So, Davin Salvagno. I don't say it as nice. He'll tell us how to say it, right? But we're going to talk about finding your purpose with the man of purpose. All right. So take notes, come in, have fun, comment, folks. This is your show. I'm gonna roll the engine. Oh, look, Bill Forrester. All right, Bill Forrester, CEO Zones. He interviewed me. He gave me the opportunity to interview. Love CEO Zones. If you're running a business, if you're at a corporate leadership C level, hey, this is for you. This guy's unbelievable. Go check it out. CEO Zones. I also write content in there, man. So I can't say enough good things about these folks. And that's how I met the good man, Davin, we're going to meet today. So we got him in the house. Thank you for counting, Bill. I did calibrate my sundial. You're on point. Then we got, Royce Blake, Mr. Radio Voice. Oh, Davin, backstage. You got to hear this guy. On career day, he didn't get to go because he was made for radio at 30 years strong. And we've got Homer. Oh, man, we got Boz in the house. Boz is a good man. He's rebranding and building a second time. Most intense, honest guy I've seen in a long, long time. And then we got new folks. Joey, appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for coming. So let's get this party started. Can't wait. And yeah, I'm alone tonight, so you all get to see Captain Kirk run the Enterprise by himself. It's going to be a fun one, folks.
Are you looking to grow your network and your net worth with other high-level, heart-centered professionals? Then grab a seat and your favorite beverage and join Mike Asherbrenner, the Redneck Connector. It's time for the Hounds of Business Community Happy Hour.
Boz, hey, thank you for that. You all noticed I was wearing my church clothes today. Hey, I'm excited. Then the Purpose Summit is in the house, folks. You got, hey, even I got to take a bath when it's not even Monday. All right, so we're going to roll with it, folks. Masters of Travel, thank you. Let me give a big shout out real quick because we want to support people in the Hounds of Business. These folks are doing incredible things. Think about all the things out there that we don't like in the world, right? The things that we went through. And we said, gosh, wouldn't it be nice if someone else didn't have to go through that mess? Yeah, welcome to the Hounds of Business, right? These are people who are just like, you know what? Someone's got to do it. Might as well be me. And they're willing to go through all the garbage to get there, folks. And so I want to give, when we see people rising, it's like cookies and milk. It's like PB&J when they put it in the same jar like 20 years ago. I'm still raving about it, Davin, back there. So I'll tell you what, let's bring them. First of all, so Kentucky Derby. I'm from Kentucky, right? Big shock. So I get excited. I watch it on TV. I like to stay at home. I don't even go to the gas station half the time. Sometimes I got to fly around. But so this is, I don't know what they were thinking. My family, my wife, they said, hey, make the little riding horse, the horse head with the little stick on a broom handle. And somehow this came out. I'm not sure what this is. I see this in movies, usually on Halloween, I think. She thought it was great. So Mamaw saw that and said, no, we're not doing that in kindergarten. And goes and gets her that, which actually had the adverse effect. So I think the kids were a little harsh, and we learned about resilience and inner strength. So, the older I get, the more I realize we're just kind of grown kindergartners a lot of times, right? Little kids. So that's cute. I want to make sure everybody got this. Kevin Smith, Kindness Worldwide. As I put it in my own terms, he lost his wallet one day. Very successful, good man, working, building business. He lost his wallet, and it looked like he lost his mind. He wanted to pay it forward, couldn't find the lady who returned his wallet, and it turned into a movement. Worldwide movement. This guy is everywhere. Police across the globe are assigning kindness citations. You heard me right. Kindness. Look, there's proof. Kindness citations. Could you imagine? Right? Commissioner walking in and giving you one of these. Right? Woo, little mini heart attack. I think they warn them though. But anyway, Kevin has been around. Governor Shapiro is really liking what he's seeing. They're working on the governors getting behind this, municipalities. York, Pennsylvania, we had those on a couple weeks ago, folks. They are the benchmark, and they want to see this duplicated throughout the globe. And Kevin is making it happen. So Kevin Smith, and guess where I met Bill Forrester? Through Kevin Smith. So, hey, it is really who you know, and birds of a feather flock together. So thank you, Kevin. We're going to give you all a full update. Try to find this guy where he's been. You can't keep track of it. And then these folks here, all right, these are the people that clean me up, you know. So I want to give a shout out real quick to Tanya Everhart and Michael Carr, Brand Face. They're more country than me, which is actually the minority in the hounds, if you believe that. And great people, right? People see your brand before they meet you. Pretty profiles and things, that's okay. But if you're trying to build a business, folks, a sustainable business, you need branding, right? And so these folks are my go-to. They have helped me out more than just looking good. My message, who I talk to, the intention behind it, and how I serve others. They were the secret weapon behind that. So thank you, Tanya. If they popped angel wings, I wouldn't flinch. I don't say things I don't mean. All right. And last but not least, hey, sneak peek. All right. But us, CEO Zones, and all other big-hearted organizations out there, man. I cannot wait to bring the man up. Mr. Davin himself, Purpose Summit, 6 years running. All right, it just gets better every daggum year. So we're going to bring him up, and I'm going to stop chiming in. Audience, look for the questions on the screen. All right, I'm going to ask you all questions. Chime in with your own. This is your show. Feel free to chat. All right, don't pitch lab right with the P. But hey, network, talk to each other. Appreciate you being here, folks. Really do. All right, let's see what else we got. Oh, and these. All right, we'll come back to this, Davin. But wow, that I just saw Who. I said, to me, it's the Who, right? I'm a country parrot, like an owl, like Who. And I saw the Who. I saw Jen Drummond. I said, okay, that's going to be action packed, but not just flash. That's what's different. All right, this is value. Right, that's a big difference. It's not just pretty faces. This is value. So let's bring the man up himself, Mr. Davin. I don't have my soundboard, so we just got to go. There you go. Everybody clap loud enough that he'll hear it. How are you today, sir?
Mike, it's so great to be here with you and the Hounds of Business community for happy hour. I've got my beverage of choice. I drink coffee 24/7, and there's usually a cup in my hand. And so for all of you who are having your evening o'clock coffee, cheers. Great to be here.
What's
Mike,
that say?
Oh, what's that?
What's that say on the cup?
This says, good luck finding better neighbors than us. So we recently moved from Michigan to Charlotte, North Carolina. We're trying to be Southern. You know, my benchmark, Mike, is trying to like get to where you're at and some of the people in your community. We're not quite there yet. But I'll tell you what, we had some really great neighbors that we miss. And they sent this as a parting gift so that we would remember them.
Hey, that's nice. And if you hang with me for a couple of weeks, you'll be Southern, man. Don't worry about it. You'll come in a straw hat during the Purpose Summit. They don't do it after the Purpose Summit. We don't want to get you in trouble. I don't want to get blamed.
I like that. I think we all should wear straw hats in 2026. That's a great idea. I love it. We'll theme it out.
Yeah, let's do that. And Bill, CEO Zones, guys, go check it out. Check it out on YouTube. The episode dropped. I listened to it today. And Bill said, is that a different hat? And I said, no, I think I just washed it every now and then. I got two of them. So thanks, Bill. So let's get into it, my friend. I'm really super excited about this. Let's start with you a little bit. Before we dive into the purpose topic, right, and the Purpose Summit, I got to ask, right, take your time here. Let the folks know who you are. I think probably people seen you. But if they don't know or it's been a while, what was that light bulb moment for you, right, when you realized that corporate path, man, it's not feeding your soul the way you need it to?
Well, you know, I went to school to be a teacher. That was initially what I wanted to do. And I love teaching. I love educating people on different ideas, but I also love people. And the light bulb moment for me was after spending 20 years in corporate America. I spent 7 years with Costco. I spent 3 years with Macy's. I spent another 7 years with CVS Health. One of the through lines that I saw through all of those three phases of my career was that I was enamored with servant leadership. I was enamored with leaders who saw potential in people and selflessly did what they could to pull that potential out of them and have those people rise to different levels of performance and ultimately step into their purpose. And I had seen that model throughout my career. And, in 2016, I was on a plane flying back from a meeting with the president of CVS Health, and my financial advisor had given me a book called Halftime by Bob Buford. And he warned me, he said, if you read this book, knowing you, Davin, you will probably quit your job. And that scared me. So I didn't read the book. The book sat on my desk in the corner for like 6 months because half of my compensation as an executive was tied up in stock options. And I'm like, I don't want to quit my job. That meant walking away from a lot of money, a lot of potential. And, I was on this flight and one thing happened. Now, the company at the time, it's different now. But the company at the time had changed their purpose statement to helping people on their path to better health. And it was a great marketing slogan. But the reality is, at the time, internally as an organization, we weren't living out those goals. And I was watching a lot of people go through burnout, through anxiety, through depression, disengagement. I mean, right now, unbelievably, engagement is at a 10-year low. 85% of people in the world are actively disengaged and lonely in their work. We need community more than we ever needed before, and 10-year low. And so this is 10 years ago. So 2016, I'm on this plane and I'm having a conversation with God on the plane, and I pull Bob Buford's book Halftime out and I start reading it on the plane. And I said, all right, I've got 20 years of experience in marketing, operations, human resources. I love teaching people, but what I really love doing is not seeing people as they are, but seeing people as who they can be and helping them become that. And how do I go and do that? And almost audibly on that plane, Mike, I had a conversation with God, and he said, hey, do you remember how you met Jim Sinegal back at Costco, the founder and CEO of Costco, and the indelible mark he left on your life? And that's a story that we can tell maybe at some point. He said he helped you become who you are. And do you remember how you met the founders of CVS and how they had started their company, how CVS stood for Consumer Value Store? And when they only had one store, what they wanted was for people to come in that store, buy a product, and be better when they left as a result of coming in that store. It wasn't about the product. It wasn't about the profit. It was about the purpose. It was about helping them, impacting their life. And I said, yeah. He says, I want you to go and remind people of who they are, of who they can be, and remind business leaders of why they started, of what their founding purpose was, and to get back to that. That was the light bulb moment. And so I got off that plane. I quit my job, started a consulting company in 2016 called A Purpose Point, and that started the entire journey. A couple of years later, wrote a book called Finding Purpose at Work, which was a short book with a foreword by my leadership hero, Ken Blanchard. And that book became a bestseller. I went on a speaking tour. I met a whole bunch of other amazing people in this purpose space. It kind of became a symphony of purpose. And then we began the Purpose Summit in 2019. And here we are 6 years later. So that was the moment that led to it all.
Wow. Okay. So you are honorary hound. All right. You're going around life and doing your thing. And I love how vulnerable and open you are about this, my friend. That explains a lot. That's why people will probably buy your books and show up, because that's real. And because I didn't want to do this either. God, see, instead of saying, okay, I'll read the book, God had to grab me and I had to go kicking and screaming.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Oh, well,
That's
I joke. Go ahead.
But you ever see that poem about footprints in the stand, and it talks about the one set of footprints or two? I heard a rendition of that once where it was like there were footprints in the sand and then a long line, and the guy asked, like, wait, what's that line? He goes, that's where I dragged you.
Yeah. Oh, for year after year. Yeah. You know,
so good.
I joke because it's the hound, right? You know, and so I say I was potty trained like a puppy for about 18 months straight. But I remember those things. And we're not just talking about this, folks. People in here, you're not the only one that struggles with these conflicts and wanting to be, who you are, your best self, and be somebody, do something special. But I was there too. I hated corporate life. And if it's for you, I'm not knocking it. But I didn't have the courage, confidence, and all the things that, would move me to that point. Only tragedy and just being sick and tired of being sick and tired. So be like Davin. Just get a little upset and read a book and then do it. Don't do like me, right? But either way, that you're made for a higher calling. So don't let the 401k, don't let the benefits, don't let all these things stop you from at least pursuing that purpose in life. If that's not your purpose and you're just getting by, folks, yeah, I ain't gonna lie. It's a hard road. Was it easy for you? Was it all magical and just roses, or yeah, was it like, oh my goodness, what did I do?
So, I joke when people jump into this journey of entrepreneurship or solopreneurship, I like to say, hey, welcome to the floor of the Red Sea. Because when for those of you who know the story of the Red Sea, there's this, picture people have of, the Israelites who had left slavery in Egypt, and the waters part and they're dancing and singing as they're walking across the floor. That is not at all how it was, but that's what people picture, right? And a lot of times people picture this path of entrepreneurship, business ownership, solopreneurship as kind of the same way they picture those Israelites going across the floor of the Red Sea. The reality was there were these monstrous walls of water being held up by a supernatural force they had never seen before in their life that could come crashing down on them at any moment. They couldn't see the other end of where they were going, and they had the world's most powerful army chasing them, breathing down their neck. They were running scared, right? Yeah. So like that's what was reality. And so when people jump into, going out on their own, solopreneurship, entrepreneurship, stepping into their purpose, it's a beautiful thing to follow that calling and jump into it. But disclaimer, welcome to the floor of the Red Sea, folks.
Yeah, and it's got to be muddy on top of it, right?
It's
got to be awful. Probably took 10 hours.
You're going to get dirty. It ain't going to be all sunshine and rainbows, but I'll tell you what, when you get to the other side, it's going to be a beautiful story to tell.
And you're going to be a different person. That's you're going to be your best self. You're going to be who you intended to be.
Well, you're going to be equipped, actually. So one of the things that people don't talk about, and I don't mean to turn this into a sermon, but you got to hear this. I just heard this recently, and it blew my mind, because this isn't really necessarily anywhere in scripture. This is more historical fact. So I'm not trying to take anything out of context, but when you consider the historical elements of what we're in play and you hear what I'm about to say, this is going to blow your mind. So for those of you who know the story of the Israelites being enslaved in Egypt and then complaining for years about slavery and wanting to get out and praying about this, they finally do. And God takes them to the edge of the Red Sea. There was actually a straight path to the promised land that did not involve crossing the Red Sea, that they could have taken, but they didn't. God had a purpose for bringing them to the edge of the Red Sea. So they walk through this very trying, horrific trial of walking across the floor of the Red Sea, muddy, dirty, fearful, all that, right? And they get to the other side, and then the sea collapses over the Egyptians and they're wiped out. But here's the thing. The Egyptians had the world's best technology, best weaponry, best everything for that era. And what would have happened is when the sea washed up over top of that army, all of that equipment, all of those weapons would have washed up on shore. And now the Israelites were equipped to go into the promised land that they were told to go into. So there was an equipping that happened through that Red Sea moment. And if they would have gone the easy route, the direct path, the straight route, they wouldn't have been equipped to step into the fullness of purpose that they were being called to.
A couple of years or maybe even a year ago, I hear that and go, oh, that's nice. I lived it. Right? It's awful, but it at the end of awful is liberating, unbelievable. Like, wow. But you can't go in with the old stuff and mentality and self-doubt, and that's what this is. So let me ask you, that's a great setup. We didn't even plan this. I don't plan this, but like the best blessings come wrapped in sandpaper, right? And we just talked about it. So what are the challenges that help, so what are some tough times that help shape your journey from the corporate to doing this and purpose-driven business, authorship, and now the Purpose Summit?
Yeah, well, so that's a really good question, right? Because here's the thing is that purpose is often born out of our greatest pain. And so when you ask me that question, right, a lot of the pain points that I saw in corporate, and I want to be clear, I'm not in any way demonizing corporate life or corporate America. I've got a lot of clients that are corporations and enterprises that I serve and that I speak to. The question isn't, it's not a matter of the industry or the structure. It's about the culture and about the leadership and what it stands for. And so what I saw what really great servant leadership looked like and was modeled at Costco. Great company, phenomenal organization, great values, great CEO. I mean, their turnover was only 2% a year. You needed to know someone who knew someone who knew someone to get into Costco because of how well they stewarded people, stuck true to their founding purpose, their mission, their vision, their values. They were really a great example of what good looks like. And then I saw a lot of what good didn't look like. I saw a lot of really bad leadership, a lot of egos, a lot of people, a lot of destruction, a lot of people and their families being destroyed by leaders who, and their self egos and their self ambitions and looking out for number one, and a lot of political red tape and all of those different things. And it pained me because I saw people with great potential that were not stepping into it because of the circumstances that they were in. And I wanted to do something about that. I wanted to change that. I asked myself, I said, you know what? We would hear these songs like working 9 to 5 and everyone's working for the weekend and thank God it's Friday and all of these different things. And I thought, man, what would it look like if instead of the workplace being a place where we go and we get drained and we come home and we end up giving our family our leftovers? What would it look like if the workplace was a place we stepped into, we activated our purpose, we got fulfilled, and we came home with our batteries fully charged to give our best to our families? And that switch in my mind is really what started this entire thing. I went on a mission to then try and find, it was a Jerry Maguire. I went on a mission to go find Jerry Maguire CEOs, business leaders, founders that wanted to transform their company and their industry by making their business and their workplace a catalytic environment where people can step into the fullness of their gifts, their talents, abilities, skill sets, fully into their purpose and go home at the end and say, wow, I can't believe what I got to do today. Not what I had to do, but what I got to do today. And now when they're home, they're fully present as a spouse, as a parent, or just even at the conversation table as a friend, because they're not drained from what traditional quote unquote corporate America has put them through.
My goodness. Yeah, man, my little country brain just popped like Windows 95. I just crashed right here, man. That was, wow. Okay. So what you just said, I'll put in my country tone. All right. Absolutely. What's the most meaningful thing that you could do? Right. If you're not happy in life, it's going to trickle out. And I know that maladaptive behaviors is why people overdrink and all this stuff and they're grumpy. And I said, either kick a stray cat on the way home and come home and yell at your family, or dig deep and get real with your dadgum self. And it's hard. I wouldn't do it on a good day. But now I enjoy life. It's not a to-do list. Like you said, it's a get to-do list. I don't have to do anything. I choose to do it. Very different. So yeah, I'm not knocking it either, but happiness, man, fulfillment. So let's get into that because that's what this whole summit is all about, right? So the Purpose Summit, we talked about it 6 years now. All right. So that's impressive to me. Hey, how many years is that in dog years? That's a lot of years.
42 dog years, right?
Is it 42? Yeah, see, there you go.
Actually, I got to ask Brinkley. My hound's laying over here staring at me like, why haven't you walked me?
Yeah, I'm waiting for your dog to bark, and I'm like, well, we're the hounds.
He's not going to bark. He's a very quiet, patient golden retriever that just stares at me with very demeaning eyes of like, why aren't you petting me or walking me or feeding me? He's literally sitting right here. It's pretty funny.
Well, I'm gonna keep going until he jumps in your lap. So, but tell us about that early vision back in 2019, right?
2019.
How different things look now compared to what you first imagined. So you had this thought, you read the book, these things revealed themselves. How is it different? Is it different than what you pictured 6 years ago?
Yeah, it's not different in terms of the mission or the vision or what it was that we set out on. I think what's different about it for me is I didn't realize how global the conversation was. You know, I really felt initially, maybe it's just me that's struggling with this. Maybe this is a local thing. And then I realized it was much bigger than that. So the Purpose Summit started out of a abandoned school building in a blighted neighborhood in Detroit. I had a friend of mine, Chris Lambert. He'll be at the Purpose Summit again this year. He's there every year. He started a massive nonprofit movement called Life Remodeled in Detroit. He's now written a great book called Next Level Nonprofit. And now he's helping nonprofit leaders across the world create higher levels of impact. And so he leads the nonprofit track of the summit. But the summit started when he had adopted basically an abandoned school building in a blighted neighborhood in Detroit. And I had just wrapped up a speaking tour on my first book, Finding Purpose at Work. And I had met other people that were talking about igniting purpose individually and organizationally. So there was two conversations that were happening. There was the conversation of, well, what is your purpose? How do you articulate and find what your purpose is and step into that every day? What does that look like? And then there's the organizational purpose question, because the purpose of every organization isn't profit. Profit is the applause that we get for business for stepping into our purpose well. And so, or as Patrick Lencioni says, the purpose of every organization is to improve the quality of human life in some way. So how are you improving the quality of human life in some way as a business? And so we wanted to have the conversation. So we rented the abandoned school building for 2 days. Day one, individual purpose. Day two, organizational purpose. And we invited friends of ours that I had met on LinkedIn, met as a part of my speaking tour. It's like we were all singing the same song, but we were playing different instruments, and we created this symphony of purpose. And we had no money. We had no marketing. We had 4 months to scale this thing. 300 people from across the country came. I mean, we set up folding chairs and served room temperature Coke products and bottled water from the back of the room with slices of pizza on a Costco folding table. I mean, this was as grassroots as you could get it. And what had happened was one of the people who had come to the summit, we did that summit, then COVID happened in 2020. And then in 2021, we took a second stab at the summit. And conferences were illegal in Michigan in 2021 because we were still on the heels of COVID, and then our governor wasn't allowing us to have conferences. So we had to get very creative. So theaters were allowed to be opened, and schools were allowed to have 25% capacity in them. And so there was this abandoned school, abandoned theater. So kind of a theme here. We went from an abandoned school to an abandoned theater that had just been bought and renovated and restored to its 1920s charm in this town of Mount Clemens, Michigan, just outside of Detroit. And so we rented that theater and we called it the Purpose Summit Experience, because you were allowed to have theater experiences, but you weren't allowed to have conferences. And we did the keynotes in there. And then Oakland University had a school across the street, and we did breakout rooms in the Oakland University campus that was across the street. And then we couldn't cater the event because, again, conferences were illegal. So we got creative again, and we partnered with the city. We closed the street off in between the theater and the college. And there were restaurants on that street that were literally on life support from COVID because nobody had been in them for months. And we bought out the restaurants for 3 days, and we provided meal tickets to everyone who came to the summit. And basically, if you would go to any of these restaurants, there was a prefix menu. You turn in your ticket, they would give you a meal, and we settled with them after the summit. And that was a transformative moment for the summit in 2021, because what had happened was we brought hope to that community, we brought restoration to the community, but that was where it went from a local event to a more widespread event. We had companies that had come from all over the Midwest to Detroit, and one of those companies was a company called Lippert. Lippert's a $7 billion publicly traded global company. And their vice president of leadership and culture, Dr. Amber Selking, who was actually going to join us tonight, but she couldn't join us tonight. She'll be giving the closing talk at the summit this year entitled Business as a Force for Good. She's our closing keynote speaker. She spoke at the summit in 2021, and she brought 26 leaders from Lippert on a bus from South Bend, Indiana to Detroit, 3.5-hour drive. And halfway through the summit, she says to me, Davin, this is the most amazing leadership experience we've ever been a part of. How do we partner with you to do this in Indiana next year? And I said, well, where would we do it in Indiana? And she said, how about Notre Dame? And I said, like the Notre Dame, like the University of Notre Dame, like we could do that? Well, Coach or Dr. Amber Salking was the mental performance coach for Notre Dame football at the time under Brian Kelly, and was also an adjunct professor at the Mendoza School of Business. So she made a phone call, and Notre Dame was more than happy to host the Purpose Summit. So the summit moves from Detroit in 2021 to the University of Notre Dame in 2022, and now it becomes a global event. We've got people flying in from Italy, from Asia, from India, from all over the world, and of course from all over the country. And it became a global conversation. And so the message didn't change, the mission didn't change, but the scope of the conversation was much bigger than I thought it was going to be. And so we did the summit 2 years at Notre Dame, so 2 years in Detroit, 2 years at Notre Dame. And then God called us to move the Purpose Summit to Charlotte, North Carolina, where we held it last year. Last year was its 5th year. And now we're running it back for a 2nd year in Charlotte in 2 weeks for a 6th year. And so this year we've got people coming from as far as Australia, Amsterdam, India, Europe, all converging in Charlotte. And of course, there's people coming from 30 different states as well. But it's a 3-day event. And this year's conversation is going to be a little bit different. This is going to be a much more immersive experience. I know you showed a picture of a whole bunch of faces that are going to be there. You mentioned Jen Drummond. One of the things that has made the summit so special over the year, I'm blessed to speak at a lot of conferences. I've keynoted a lot of conferences. And typically when there she is, Jen Drummond, Breakproof.
Look at that. I gotta brag.
It's a fantastic book. And if you come to the summit, not only will you get to meet her, you'll get to spend 3 days with her. And here's what I mean by that. I just shared that I'm blessed to be able to speak at a lot of conferences. Most keynote speakers, they fly into a conference, they give their keynote talk. They're there maybe for a few hours, maybe for that day, and then they leave. One of the things that I've done over the course of my career is when I speak at a conference, I'm there for the entire time. I love to meet the people before, after. The conversations that happen off stage to me are more important than what I say on stage. And so one of the fundamental things that we built into the Purpose Summit from day one is that if you speak at the summit, you're there for all 3 days as not just a speaker, but also as an attendee. And so all these faces that you see are not just speakers, they're also attendees for the entire 3 days. They're giving of their own time. None of them are getting paid to speak. We've got 40 different speakers from all over the world, many of them renowned, well-known, best-selling authors, and they're coming together for 3 days because they believe in the mission. They believe in the conversation. And what's really, really awesome is the conversations that happen off stage. I say it's the room where friendships are born, relationships are forged, and collaborations are born. So that's when I say that it hasn't changed, the mission hasn't changed, the message hasn't changed, but the scope of the need, the conversation, and the relationships it has fostered is beyond anything that I could have ever imagined.
Wow. This is the audience, right? This is the audience that gets it. I think about it, and folks chime in. Don't be shy. I don't know what's going on. They're chatty, but not like normal. It's okay if you don't want to, but hey, do it, because I know you guys have something to say. Think about it. If Davin didn't talk to the man, know about the book, read the book, all these successions, all these little things that probably didn't mean nothing back then he wouldn't be in a position to say, hey, let's do a summit, get some fold-out chairs, and then benefit people who were losing their businesses. I mean, look at the compound effect that just like a snowball, right? That's unbelievable to me. And I want y'all to realize it's not just stuff people say to sell books and, talk about the glory days. Listen, this is the reality. Because I mean, in my opinion, a lot of the self-help section and business section, when I started doing this for real, it was kind of, a lot of it wasn't good. But I want to hear from people that's been there and done that. So thank you for sharing that backstory. I had no idea about that, folks. I didn't realize you were running around with Dixie cups and paper.
That's right. That's right.
Wow.
No joke. No joke. We had plastic cups, room temperature Coke products, bottled water, room temperature pizza on folding. I mean, like literally, it doesn't get more grassroots than that.
No.
So it's been an amazing, amazing journey.
It sure don't. So I'll pull this up, but you got some really amazing people, right? Like, and even big corporations that are behind this, right? You got Coca-Cola, WD-40, right? So how and why? Like, why are these big names, so excited about this, right? It's not just some fluffy concept, but they're putting real value. They're putting their money where their mouth is. They're behind this. Why is that?
Well, they all call it the same vision, right? So it really is. And there's this difference between mission, vision, purpose, values, all those words that get thrown out there. And we can spend some time talking about the difference of those. But they really all call it the same vision. And it was the vision that really called them to all be on the same mission together. So, and one of our listeners, Joey, had asked, is the summit in North Carolina a good place for small business owner to attend for networking? The answer is 100% yes. So what's happened is you have entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, small business owners, large business owners, and enterprises like Coca-Cola, WD-40, Lipper. I mean, literally the scope of the landscape is in that room. And what's really cool is that you get to see a small business owner or a solopreneur sitting next to a Gary Ridge, who's the 25-year CEO of WD-40 company, and just having breakfast together or having lunch together and sharing insights that where in the world could you get that type of level of exposure and that type of wisdom in the same room? But to answer your question, what's brought them all together is the vision. So that same pain point, Mike, that I shared with you years ago about what would it look like if we created workplaces where people go to work, they activate their purpose, they ignite it, they step into the fullness of who they are. We've got a lot of people who, maybe they're in thankless jobs and maybe they've got all of these talents that they're not even using that are on a shelf, that if they were in a different position, they could leverage those to not only be fulfilled, but perform better. And that would positively impact the organization, the company. There's a ton of potential that can happen. The other thing that we saw is there's a lot of nonprofits that are trying to solve a lot of the same problems. And rather than collaborating, they're competing with each other. There's a lot of businesses that are trying to solve the same problems that rather than collaborating, they're competing with each other. And one of the thieves of purpose, which is my new book that just came out, is competition. Now, competition can be a healthy thing, but it can also be a thief of purpose, because all too often we think about how we can get there faster or first alone rather than on how we can get there faster together. And so when you think about that, what we wanted to do was foster an environment where people were passionate about that same problem and solving that problem together and collaborating. And that's why our tagline has become Serve, Learn, Lead Together. And so what you have is you've got, WD-40, if you were to listen to Gary Ridge, he would talk about how the number one product that they've made is not the oil in the can, it's their culture. It's a place where people feel seen, heard, valued, belong, and are cared for. The can just allows them to make that happen. Coca-Cola Consolidated will talk to you about how the number one thing that they've built is a culture on transformation, again, where people are seen, heard, valued, and loved, and they come together. And so this vision of what could it look like if business was a force for good, if we came together and solved the world's greatest problems, if we activated and ignited each other's purpose so that every day when we wake up and we step into our work, we're moving the needle. And then we're ending that day feeling fulfilled because we know it made a difference. They all have that same vision. And therefore, now they've all jumped on that same mission together. And all they're doing is contributing their time, their insights, their experiences, their learnings, so that we can get there faster together rather than worrying about how we get there.
But Davin, that sounds really hard, man. Like, that just sounds like a lot of work. I might fail. I might look dumb. You fill in the blank, but do it anyway, right?
But anyway, right? As Tom Hanks said in A League of Their Own, right? It's the hard that makes it great. It's the hard that, listen, everything that we celebrate, hear me on this. Like, we put people on massive pedestals who've overcome impossible things, who've achieved great things, who've changed the world. And we look at that and we go, wow. But if you take the heart out of it, we devalue it. So the reality is that we value the things that are hard that people choose to do anyway. But when you take the heart out of it, it loses its value. And so that's the call to action. The call to action is to set aside the excuses and to step into what's hard, not into what's convenient.
Yeah, and hard can be an understatement. But listen, let me spill the beans here, Davin, real quick. We're going to move, but folks, I know I listen to them. I'm like Dr. Phil half the time, and I know there's that little voice, not me, blah blah blah. Yeah, because think about it, now that things are in orbit, right? Now that things are not so hard, and you got coke that's not flat and stuff, right? Like now you got good stuff. Do you? It doesn't matter anymore. Like you're glad you went through the hard times because they're not forever, and you get new hard times, but you don't sit around. Like my mentor told me, he says, when you arrive at whatever destination you're wanting to arrive at, you ain't gonna think about it, because right now it's like, oh my gosh, this is such a big deal, but life goes on and you can win, right? So that was supposed to be a question, but I just went on with that one. Yeah, I know. I was like, was there a question?
Here's the thing: is like what you just said there is so critical, because I'm still going through the hard, right? I haven't arrived. We never arrive.
Well, thank you, dude.
Life is a constant journey of getting better and going through the hard. But the thing is that what may have seemed to be the insurmountable hard thing today, that once you get through it, and then 5-10 years from now, you look back and you're like, wow, that wasn't hard. That was like a stepping stone, not a mountain. Right. But sometimes it looks like a mountain when it's in front of us. And then 5-10 years from now, it's a stepping stone. And so what happens is, as we go through the hard, as we go through life, what happens is we persevere, we build character. Right. And then that gives us the hope and strength that we need to tackle the next big thing. And we were just having this conversation as a family, actually. So one of the things that we started was on Sunday nights, we pick a family Bible verse and we unpack it, right? And actually that was this week's verse was Romans 5:3-5, and it talked about suffering, and it said, we know that suffering produces perseverance, and perseverance produces character, and character produces hope. And I had to explain that to my 10 and 14-year-old, and I'm thinking, how am I going to unpack this? And what I said to them, and this just flopped out of nowhere, I said, let me ask you, if you had to go into a battle and you had no armor, no weapons, no nothing, and you had to go into this thing just with your shirt on your back, and the other person that you were fighting, they had armor and a shield and a sword, all those things, how hopeful are you that you're going to win that battle? And they're like, we're not. We're going to get crushed, or we're going to get cooked. They like to say, we're going to get cooked. We're going to get cooked. And I said, okay, now let me ask you a question. If you had armor, the best armor, a sword that was sharper than it's ever been before, the best helmet, right? And you built muscle and you're strong, and now you're going into this battle, how confident are you that you're going now? And they're like, oh, we're going to cook. We're going to win. I'm like, okay, well, so here's the thing, is that's what this verse is saying, right? So what happens is, when we suffer and we start to persevere and we build character, that character is like that armor. That character is what gives us strength. That character sharpens our sword. That character gives us boldness, and that gives us hope to then tackle whatever the next big thing is that we need to step into. So when you don't go through the hard, you're robbing yourself of the armor that you're able to put on to go through the next hard. You're robbing yourself of sharpening the sword that you need to carry with you to go through the next challenge. Life isn't just meant to be this easy walkthrough with your shirt on your back. Life is this series of struggles that helps us persevere, that builds character, that gives us hope and strength to go through the next trial and tribulation, so that we can step into the fullness of the purpose that we were created for and called to.
You could be saying that to a better audience right now, folks. I'm glad it's not me saying it. He's been there. He's done that. He's still doing it. Now, I love what you said. You never arrive. Unless you decide to quit, then you could be done. But there's always more, and I love that, folks. Believe it. Once you take the training wheels, I had to pull up my bootstraps and go through this kind of up and down roller coaster, right? Because you're becoming what you weren't. It's a growth process. That whole corny caterpillar and butterfly. It's exactly what it is. You are transforming through the pain. But I'm telling you, it's like the light switch went off recently. I'm like, I could do this until the next challenge, but I'm not starting from scratch. It's like when Michael Jordan went from basketball to baseball. That's what I think of. It's like he's still a super athlete. It's a different game, different muscle, different skill set, but he's a super athlete. And that's what happens when you get to the other side of whatever's stopping you. Folks, whatever is in here, once it clicks and you say, you know what, not even why not me? Yeah, me. That's what, and you got to go through, sorry, but you got to go through hell to get to that point. That's what I've noticed. Unless you got some cheat sheet.
Well, 90% of it is in our head, right? I mean, what you just talked about, right, is, you know, the transition that Michael Jordan made. The reason he was able to do that is because 90% of the perseverance and character he built up was in his mindset. And so now all of it was just learning a new game, but applying the same mindset. That's transferable, right? And so the problem is that we lose most of the battles in our mind. We fail to step into our purpose and take advantage of the opportunities that are inviting us every day to step in because we make excuses in our mind. We allow the thieves of purpose to rob us, not to be self-promotional about the book, but thoughts like comparison. We constantly compare ourselves to others, like, oh, I can't do that. What happens is we compare ourselves today where people were 27 years ago. I was just with Patrick Lencioni in Dallas. Patrick Lencioni is one of my favorite authors. And we were just in Dallas last week. And one of the things he shared was, he said, you know, I never wanted to be an author. I saw a pain. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier, Michael. I saw a pain in the world that really bothered me. And I wrote a story about it. I saw a lot of dysfunctional teams. And so I wrote a story about dysfunctional teams, and I didn't know where to publish it. I was going to write an article, make a post, whatever the case is. And someone got a hold of it and said, this should be a book and we'll publish it for you. And he said, shouldn't I be paying you to publish the book? He had no idea about the world, and the rest was history. He had no idea that would go on to be a best-selling book, and then he would write 5, 10 more after that, and right? But what happens is we allow comparison to rob us of the opportunity to step into our purpose, because we'll say, oh, I can't be a Patrick Lencioni. I can't write a book. I can't write a story that changes the world. That's comparison robbing of your purpose. So we've got these thoughts of comparison and fear and worry, doubt, excuses, unbelief, the lies that we tell of ourselves. Sometimes we're just indifferent. We've got this guilt that we carry with us. Sometimes we quit, we give up too soon. Sometimes success itself is a thief. We accomplish too much too quick, and we feel like we've made it, we've plateaued, and then we become complacent. And then we miss out on so much more. So we got all of these thieves that are robbing us of stepping into the fullness of the purpose and the potential that you and I were created for. And so the way that we fight those is in our mind, is by going through the hard, facing each one of those thieves head on, battling them, winning that battle in our mind, persevering, building character so that we can have hope the next time that they show up, that we win that battle. And then we step into the fullness of our purpose and our potential for which we were created and for which we were called to.
And coming from the man who started with folding chairs and flat cola. All right. I want everybody to remember that, because you're absolutely right what you just said there. You know, well, they're special. They're this. They had this. They had that. I'm not this. Then become that by going through the fire, folks. That there's no nice way to get through it. If there is, please tell me. All right. And but that's it. And it's a mindset. Like I think of Bill Forrester, right? CEO Zones. He don't need to do anything. He's cool. But he can't stop. It's who he is. He's developed who he is, what his passion is. And the guy's just doing great things because he wants to. And so anyway, wow. And so just a little bit, we got audience questions. I wanted to make sure that we address these and get to it, because folks are wanting to come. It's not too late. It is never too late. So is the Purpose Summit a good place for a small business owner to attend for networking?
100% yes, absolutely. There'll be people, small business, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, small business, mid-sized business, enterprise business. They'll all be there. It's a great time to actually meet with people who where you're at, where you came from, and where you want to go, and to learn and glean insights from them. 100%.
Well, you have breakout room. Like this ain't just sitting around listening. I mean, these are things that are interactive. Walk us through a little bit about what to expect when folks arrive.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a 3-day event. Technically, it's actually a 4-day event. So day one is optional. It's called Impact Monday. We're partnering with 3 nonprofits in Charlotte because there's a lot of people traveling into Charlotte on Monday from around the world. And so between 1 and 4 o'clock on Monday, we're going to have community activities at Samaritan's Feet, where we're going to be putting shoes on 1,000 kids' feet who've never owned their own pair of shoes. They've either gotten Salvation Army or been hand-me-down, but they've never had their own pair of shoes. So we are literally going to be distributing 1,000 pair of shoes to kids who've never owned their own pair of shoes on Impact Monday. We're also going to be filling hundreds of foster care bags for kids who used to carry their belongings in trash bags from home to home. They're going to get their own duffel bags engraved with their name, their favorite color, their favorite things in there. We're also going to be delivering beds for kids to people who used to be homeless and are now in homes, first-time homes, and they've never had their own bed. They're going to get their own bed, and we're going to be delivering beds and things to their homes. So day one, Impact Monday, is a day of community involvement, collaboration, team building. So it's going to be really cool to see people from Australia, from Amsterdam, from India, from Washington, from Maine, from Florida, from California, serving together, perfect strangers who never met each other. So that's an optional icebreaker day. Get into Charlotte by 1 o'clock Monday if you want to be a part of that. And then day one,
real quick, you're a smart guy. You pick up on stuff because you knew that I was doing the math, and then you said pair of shoes. Because I was going to ask you, does every kid get one shoe or a pair?
Oh, they get a pair. They get a pair.
Okay, so 1,000 kids. Okay, that's
2,000 kids. 1,000 kids. That means 2,000 shoes or 1,000 pairs. 2 shoes.
There you go.
And then day one, we kick off something called a reception at 3 o'clock. We've got 25 different authors that are attending the summit. You can actually see there's a tab that says books. All their books are listed on the summit website. But from 3 until 4 o'clock, we're going to have a reception where there'll be kind of a champagne toast, and all the authors will be at their own individual tables, and you can have conversation with them, ask them questions like we're having. It is not like a line to start buying, but you can buy their books if you want there. But that's why we made them available on the website so that you can spend more time actually engaging and talking to them in conversation. And then at 4 o'clock, we're going to go into our opening general session where we've got 4 amazing stories of lives who've been transformed, companies who've been transformed, or careers who've been transformed as a result of attending a previous Purpose Summit. Simon Dyson, one of those who just popped up, I attended in 2023 for the first time. It saved my life, was the catalyst to finding my purpose. He's going to be sharing his story as a part of the opening session at 4 o'clock, along with Robin Shear, Josh Wymore, and Eric Brooker. And then at 5 o'clock, we're going to have Marked Global has a panel of leaders from Australia who've identified some of the world's greatest problems that businesses need to solve, and the ways to do that, and how activating purpose can solve some of the world's greatest problems. Wow. And they're going to have a panel discussion about that. And then we'll take a break. And then we're actually going to break out into 3 different rooms, one for businesses, like enterprise level, one for entrepreneurs and self-starters, and then one for philanthropists and investors. And they're going to get around people who are like-minded, who are going to say, okay, what are some of the world's greatest problems that we want to solve? And how are we using our business or our product or our service or our people or our capital to solve those problems? And so that's opening night. And then fun fact, we kind of made this great. As you mentioned, you liked seeing that Jen Drummond's going to be there. The speakers have made themselves available for dinner that night at, a restaurant in Charlotte if you want to spend some quality time with them. So you'll notice that under each of the speakers, there's an Ask Me Anything button. You can actually purchase dinner with a speaker of choice and have the evening with them after the opening session that night for some more quality time. So that's day one. Day two is like meat and potatoes. Day two, we're going to have an opening session with Coca-Cola Consolidated, where they're going to talk about where they've built one of the world's best cultures and transformative cultures. It'll be Mark Whitaker, who I don't know if you know Mark, but there was a movie about him made with Matt Damon called The Informant. and amazing story that he shared at the Purpose Summit last year. You can watch that on YouTube and catch his whole story from the summit last year. He's going to be interviewing the executive team of Coca-Cola Consolidating as an opening panel discussion on day 2. And then we're going to go into a bunch of breakout sessions. There's a track for businesses, there's a track for nonprofits, and then there's a track for individuals. And so you literally can spend the entire day with a whole bunch of other businesses, a whole bunch of other nonprofits, or with other individuals. And each session's 45 minutes, followed by a 15-minute break. They're very interactive. They're very immersive. That's the full day of day 2. And then we end the day with a Purpose Leadership Awards dinner, where we'll be recognizing some businesses, nonprofits, and individuals with an award for the impact that they've made by stepping into their purpose. That'll be a nice dinner evening together. And then the last day of the summit, Thursday morning, well, breakfast, I'm going to give a talk on what's it going to take, which is going to be a talk on conviction, on how are you going to take everything that you just learned the last 2 days, put it into action to actually create impact. What is it going to take? We're going to unpack that. And then we're going to go into action planning sessions. So this isn't just a feel-good, inspirational event. You're going to go spend an hour and a half, businesses, nonprofits, and individuals, with whiteboards and Post-it notes with the speakers of the summit who are there for all 3 days, building your action plan of how you're going to leave, and your business or yourself or your nonprofit are going to go and take inspiration, put it into action, and make an impact. And then we'll have Dr. Amber Selking from Lippert close with her closing talk on business as a force for good. And then we'll be done at noon.
Man, see, hey, folks, I want everybody out there, if you're new, not new to me, the Hounds, I always say, where's the sales pitch? I've already seen at least 4 or 5 people saying, me, I want to go. How do I get there? Blah, blah, blah. So, hey, when you speak from the heart and have a convo, it's like Batman. He didn't have to, they just threw the symbol up. He came. I mean, it's just, like, stop dog catching and start bug zapping. What do you bug zap with? Your purpose. Because, yeah, that guy may not resonate with your purpose, but if you keep talking to enough people, getting enough no's, you're going to find somebody who goes, you know what? I'm crazy like you. I'm going to back you up. I'm going to bring some soda that's not flat. We're going to get some chairs with cushions on. Exactly. It's who. Remember, redneck country owl. Who? That comes first. Who? Like Ric Flair. Yeah.
Sure. Well, I need to add something since you said who, because Bill asked a question earlier. He said, which comes first, the why or the who? And, Simon Sinek, I love him. He wrote a book called Start With Why. But the truth is that deeper than every person's why is a who. Like when I start saying these things like solving the world's greatest problems, what's your purpose? How do you step into it? The question that you have to ask yourself isn't why, it's who. Because what happens is if I were to ask you a series of whys, you would eventually tell me the story of a who, of someone who left an indelible mark on your life, whether it was a grandparent, a parent, a friend, a spouse, someone who there's a pain that you have in the world that you want to see solved, and that activates your purpose. And in order to identify where that pain point comes from, you have to go back and ask yourself who, and ultimately you will see the faces of that pain that you want to solve. And so who motivates your why, which activates your purpose. And so if you're listening to this and you're thinking, this is all great, this is fantastic, I want to come to the summit, but maybe I can't, or I want to be there where the case is, you don't have to come to the summit to figure out. I'd love to see you there. But the thing that I want to make sure that you do walking away from this conversation is to think about who is your who. Who is the who that inspires you to want to make a difference in the world? And that will help you overcome all of those thieves and help you step into your why, help you activate your purpose, become who you want to be, who you were created to be, and to make the difference in this world that only you can make.
Dadgum straight. All right. So we're going to end up here in a minute. I don't think folks care. They're into it. Thank you so much for the comments. I love it. Birds of a feather really should flock together. But you hit the nail on the head. I reconnected with my purpose. I sat down with a lady and she busted out in tears, Davin. Sometimes people lose a lot more than money and hope when it comes to building a business and trying to make a legacy or start that nonprofit or church or whatever. And when she busted out in tears, because she didn't know what questions to ask, where to go. And she just started doing things that people told her to, and it wasn't congruent. I sat down. You know how I knew to speak to her in that way? You know how I knew how to connect with her that way, Davin? You know how, because I've been there.
That's
I
right.
went, oh my gosh, I've been there. I know that
That's right.
pain when I see it. I related to it. And I said, hey, through that pain, I built something special. I built a community. I built opportunity. I built a framework. Why don't you check it out? She said, oh my goodness, just busted in tears, folks. This is the reward after you go through the pain and the hell to get there. Once you get all whatever's stopping you is in here. Once you start to take those steps and go get your butt kicked a few times, then you get the reward. You don't win gold without the pain, man. You know, so thank you for this, because this is real. That's what I like about it. When you busted them fold out chair story. I said, oh my goodness, I wish I'd known that before. I'm glad I didn't. Jeremy, thank you for your support, my friend. Glad to see you here. April Wyatt. Oh, and I got to call him out. Nate Wild. You saw his comment in there. Nate, all right, if he can swing it and the family doesn't say, you know, he can swing the family commitments, he wants to go as well. And Nate knows a thing or two about summits. So that says a lot. I mean, Nate knows how to do those things in the background and compliment them. Like Nate, we'll help you. Just, hey, put your family on the phone. We'll talk to him, right, Devin? We can do a live session. Let's do that. Let's extend it 30 minutes. Let's call him. Let's call his family.
That's right. Well, spoiler alert, if you can't make it this year, you're going to have to wait until fall of 2026 to experience this again. So it'll be a year and a half until we do the next one.
See,
I know. I'm sorry. I apologize. So it's either in 2 weeks or a year and a half from now. So
let's say 2 weeks.
Beautiful.
Well, let me ask you this, because wow, we could have went on and on. This was a great talk. And again, you know, connecting with people and not just giving them hope. This is real, right? This is inspiration. This is the how-tos. Look, Hounds of Business. That's what we do, right? Playground. Shameless plug, man. You know, that's what we do. You have that passion to making that impact, and you connect with your purpose. Well, I don't have the resources, tools, and support to get it done. Yeah, there you go. And the Hounds of Business is connected. We strategically align with CEO Zones, Pantheon FM. Like, it's not just about us. Wherever you're going to be best served, we're going to send you there. We're going to work together in unison. And that's what I love this. That's why we're behind the Purpose Summit. We want to make sure folks know about it. All right. Because you can't change your life if you didn't know about it. You didn't read what Jim Rohn says, something like that. They never read the book. They never went to the class. They never attended the summit. They never did the stuff. And you just got to go out there. Well, what if it don't work? Well, the question is, what if it does?
What if it does?
Because if it don't work, you still where you're at. But what if it does? You know, I never thought in a million years, Davin, my pain, you know, I've 8-year recovering alcoholic. I don't lead with it, but I don't shy from it. You know, other people can, you know, be inspired by it, but I never forget it. I just shared the story one day with somebody that changed their life. They confided in me, and I shared that story, and they actually took action. And life is better. So next time you go through this and I don't want to do that. Hey, look who you're talking to. Join the club. Hey, do it. The world needs you. We're not going to solve the problems by ourselves.
That's right.
And not doing it. All right. We need somebody to come out there and increase cancer survival rates. We need people to come. Susanna, Dawn, and CJ. Shameless plug, Davin, before we go. You talked about authorship, and I love that. Someone said you should write a book. Someone else saw value in you, pushed you up before you started having a platform to push up others. These ladies did it. Dr. CJ, Constance Leland at Level Up Academy, and Susanna Dawn. They said, hey, Mike, would you like to write in a book and a co-author? And you know what I told them? I said, hey, maybe I should read them first. Maybe I should read more. I was like, well, and she said no. And they put me in. I had no clue. I was nervous. I didn't like it. And they made it easy, seamless. And guess what? Not only was this thing international bestseller, not just Amazon. I'm talking about Barnes & Noble and Target and stuff. But then we're in the University of Miami. This is in academia now, dude. It's in the bookstores. That I want to put that on my fridge like I'm 5 years old again. That blows my mind. In a million years, if you told me when I was sitting there being grumpy at work, that, hey, you're going to write books and help people. And nah, man, you got the wrong guy. You talking to Davin. Make that yours, folks.
That's right.
And last thing, I see Boz here. Boz is military service. Thank you for this guy. Is the real deal. Man, you know, if you don't do it, that's why I'm more scared of what won't happen if I don't. What lies won't be changed if I don't. So anyway, go rub shoulders with folks. If you're able to get out there and make it happen, no excuses. Get out there, connect. And by the way, you also have a follow-up. so people can go on there and then get some benefit after the show, right? So if they can't make it, the car breaks down, things happen, right? Then they can go and get a lot of the value from that on the same website. They can go and get that.
Yeah, on the same website, there's an on-demand experience that, I mean, you're going to get like 30% of it. You're not going to get the full experience,
Right?
Because as I mentioned, right, most importantly is what happens off the stage. This isn't 40 keynotes happening or a TED talk. There's only a handful of main talks, if you will. Most of this is collaborative conversations happening in a closed room, which that part won't be available. So, but yeah, some of the main stuff will be available via on demand.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you 50 more questions, but dadgummit, I'm going to respect the time. So we'll have to have you back, and we'll definitely have you back. And we got plenty of time to get the word out from now till fall of 2026. But hey, we got 2 weeks left, folks. Get out there, make it happen. Call friends, share it, repost this, right? Go make post of it. Real simple stuff. Don't cost a lot. Don't cost anything. So last question. Boz asked this earlier. So what is your vision? And I'm not going to put a cheesy timetable. Look, what is next for you? What is the big audacious goal that you probably don't even want to say right now? Like, what is that thing that you're striving for?
The big, hairy, audacious goal, the BHAG that I have, would be to see the day where we no longer have to convince people that purpose is what they've been looking for all along, and that it's the key to actually stepping into the fullness of our potential. It's the key to actually unlocking growth and potential in all of our businesses. It's the key to scaling sustainably. It's the key to helping people feel fulfilled and making a difference both at work and at home. It's the key to solving the world's greatest problems. The reality is that there is no shortage of resources to solve all the world's greatest problems. The reason that it hasn't happened yet is simply because we've allowed the thieves of purpose in our mind to stop us. And so my BHAG would be to see a day where every leader of every organization doesn't just tolerate the conversation of purpose, but they embrace it fully. And the biggest question that they're asking themselves is, who are we helping others become? We've been given this business, we've been given this organization, we've been given this resource. How are we stewarding these in such a way that we are improving the quality of human life together every single day? Because the greatest question of purpose that we can ask and answer is, who are we helping others become?
Daggum straight. You heard it, folks. So if this resonated with you, right, don't say, well, and get distracted and let it go like every other time you're inspired. If this resonated with you, take action, right? So May 13th, May 19th, correct? I got the days right.
May 13th through the 15th. 13th to the 15th.
I don't know what's wrong with me, man. My sundial.
The 5 looks like a 9. That's okay. It's all right.
My sundial is on. Okay. It's on the screen too, and I'm sitting there talking crazy. So yeah, no. And before Bill gets to do it, because Bill likes to, beat me to the punch, I'm going to introduce you to Kevin Smith. Everything you said, man, you two together on a show, phenomenal. We're gonna bring Bill up. We're gonna have to Sadie Hawkins. We're just going to grab him by his arm and bring him on the show. We're going to trick him to say something else and then bring him on. He's a good man. He likes to come. Oh, and Nate said, look, Nate, you better be glad I don't have your number, buddy. I would call you right now, Sam style. All right. So anything else you'd like to share with folks? Baby step, whatever, but you don't have to, but I think you said it all. Man, it's been great talk. Last words for you.
Last words. Well, this has been great. And one thing I want to share, this may have seemed like one long commercial for the Purpose Summit, and that's not what I want you to remember from this. Here's what I want you to remember from this conversation. Somewhere, someone is waiting for you to step into your purpose. They're waiting for you to step into your hard. They're waiting for you to stop making excuses. They're waiting for you to stop comparing yourself to others. They're waiting for you to overcome your fear, your doubt, and your unbelief, and to step into all that only you were created to step into. You are someone else's who. So if you take anything away from this conversation, know that you were created for a purpose. There is a gift, talent, ability, skill set that only you have that can change the lives of others that you were created to change. And it's the battle in your mind that is preventing you every day from stepping into that. So face them, step in, and make the difference that only you were created to make.
Well said. I'm not going to tarnish that with anything. All right. Well said. And we know where your heart is. So if you want more, go to say your name, because I don't say it as eloquently. So go ahead. Tell them
Davin
the website.
Salvagno. It's Italian. Salvagno.
Davin Salvagno. Did I do it all right? I tried hard.
It was fantastic. That was the best redneck version of my name I ever heard.
It'll probably be the only one you ever hear. That's a good news. Please don't spoil it for me, anybody. All right. So, folks, go tap in, get excited, and stay excited. Go do something about it. And, well, that hurt, or that was challenging. Now you know it's on track. If it's not hurting at all, you're probably not doing it. All right. So just go out there, get uncomfortable, build resilience, become the mighty honey badger with a camo hat, and go change the daggone world, folks. So thank you all so much. Oh, and Bill, thank you. Man's always on point, man. He's never off. Entrepreneur Experience. Yeah, that's the new one. I'm a founding partner with that. The good man, Larry Call, Brian Muka, and then I am one of the 12 founding partners of this organization. And love it because it levels the playing field, Davin. So all these folks out here is going, yeah, I got purpose now. I'm going to go find it. Well, now you have the how-to and the support to get it done. So I love being inspired in the web. Folks in the comments, people, supporters, folks I don't know. Hey, don't do it alone. All right. If you need a supportive pack, dadgummit, no strays out there. But we're not the only ones out there. All right. So if we're not your cup of tea, here's my promise to you. I'll send you somewhere that is your cup of tea. I don't have ego in this. I want to see you win. And just like Davin said, I want to see you discover your purpose and then do something about it. I've created what I didn't have. All right. So I'm not writing from a mountaintop on some guru level. I'm telling you, if I can do it, come on, man. I want to hear your excuses, folks. So come on, let's get things done. Davin, you're a rock star. I will see you next week. We have a special show. And Bill, we're coming for you. All right. You got to get back on. Really. Actually, he's coming next week with the oh, man. See, I talk too much. It's that's a good thing I run a show, right? David Mandaski. All right, Jaded Hell 42. This man made a program, and now we're going to find out if it worked or not. Yeah, so this could have went really well, or really bad. So we're going to go. This is going to be a panel. Don't miss it. Same time, 7 p.m. next Wednesday Eastern, folks. Have a good Yolanda. I saw you. I was nervous. I thought she always comes in. All right. So thank you all. Have a good day. We'll see you. See you at the Purpose Summit. All right. .com. ThePurposeSummit.com. We'll do it. Now I got to find my own video. Told you I was going to be a fun one. Thank y'all for stopping by. Be sure to follow, share, and like, and send me a message if you had fun today. Y'all come back now.